Hello and welcome to another episode of Prelude to Positivity with Tommy Geraci. Today, my guest is a musician, a actor, a heartthrob, Instagram model, I guess we could call him, right? Everyone's favorite s'more, and he's also a Broadway star, Mr. Ashley Parker Angel, and my friend. Welcome.
Thank you. It is so great to be here, Tommy. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Cool. I'm really glad to have you because we've been working on it for a while with our schedules, and it finally came together. The stars aligned, and all
I
that happened.
know. And I love Prelude to Positivity because as you mentioned, we're friends and you're one of the most positive people I know. And I think the world needs more of that. So I'm super happy to be on.
Thank you. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows you at this point, and they don't really need to know the whole story. But for people who may not be familiar, I just wanted you to go over your beginnings, how you got into the acting thing, and what actually brought you into everyone's lives.
That's a great question. And it all goes back to a little TV show called Making the Band, which was on ABC and then on MTV. And being the first season of Making the Band, we did 3 seasons of it. But just to rewind a little bit before that, I grew up in a really small town in Northern California, Redding, California. And at the time that happened, I went through a lot of family obstacles to even pursue entertainment because I've shared before, I grew up in a really conservative family and they did not support me going into the entertainment industry. A lot of parents are concerned about kids that want to pursue the entertainment industry, and I would say for good reason, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of horror stories of young performers, and it just seems to be, especially with child stars, which is something we can talk about. It's a lot of pressure, right? So as I've gotten older, I understand more of the reasons why, but I had to really move out of my house at a young age and kind of really was on my own. I was riding a bicycle to 2 separate jobs, and I was taking acting classes at an acting studio. And the lady, the really wonderful teacher, an acting teacher, wanted to manage me and send me out on auditions. And then Making the Band came through, and so I made my own audition tape. I auditioned with "I Want It That Way," Backstreet Boys, played it on an acoustic guitar, and at this time, it's kind of crazy to think reality TV wasn't a big thing on network television, which is wild because now it's such a thing. 90 Day Fiance, plug, is my favorite reality show right now. But it was just, long story short, got a chance to work with Lou Pearlman. And if you've seen the new Netflix series Dirty Pop, also there was a Lance Bass documentary I was also a part of, the boy band Con. Lou Pearlman, it's a very bittersweet conversation because he gave so many of us our start.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake and Sync, Backstreet Boys, Britney, Aaron Carter, LFO, a lot of other groups. And, if you had a chance, for anybody that hasn't seen it, it's a really fascinating behind the scenes story of what was going on at that time in my life, where the guy that had, managed O-Town to begin with, Lou Pearlman, was being investigated by the FBI at the time. And of course, ends up getting thrown in jail for running one of the largest Ponzi schemes ever, maybe only behind Bernie Madoff. And so it's a wild story, but I got a chance to work with legends like Clive Davis. And, I always knew right when O-Town happened, I was always thinking about what's the next step? Because music trends come and go so quickly in America, especially. Boy bands sort of come and go in and out of style, every 7 to 10 years or so. And
The artists come in and out. Any
and the
artist
artists and the
gone.
artists, yeah, and the artists come in and out because we have these trends in music that just come and go. But we were at that time where the boy band bubble was already about to burst. And I think the thing that set us apart was we had a TV show. And then I went right out of O-Town. I ended up doing my own record deal with Universal Records, and MTV caught wind of that. And this is at the time that Justin goes solo from NSYNC. You had TV shows like The Newlyweds with Nick and Jessica. And so I took a meeting with MTV, and they're like, "What's going on in your life?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm engaged. I'm about to get married, and I'm going to be engaged soon because my girlfriend is pregnant. I'm going to be a dad." And they're like, "This is a TV show. This is a TV show." To be honest, I was kind of hesitant to do another reality TV show for a lot of the reasons that you might imagine. But I did it, and it was an incredible experience. I did a show called There and Back on MTV. It was the #1 rated show at the time, and then launched my solo effort, which was Soundtrack to Your Life, and learned a lot. You know, all in all, I was in the music industry for about 10 years, and then got an amazing opportunity to audition for Hairspray. And they said, will you cut your hair? Because I had long blonde hair at the time. And I said, yes, because Broadway's always been a dream. And then it really led to several years in Broadway, doing tours. I toured around the country with Wicked. I booked my dream role, which was Fiyero in Wicked. So excited for the movie. Yeah. And yeah, I got a chance to live off and on in New York, and done some TV and a lot of voiceover acting, and been attached to a lot of entertainment projects and pilots and things that didn't happen too, which is also a huge part of pursuing the entertainment industry.
That's normal.
Yeah, the most normal thing in the world, right? And then, you know, about 20 years into it, I was 38, and I was wrapping up Fiyero on Broadway, and I was like, you know, health and wellness has always been such a huge passion of mine. The entire time I was doing entertainment, I was hiring all kinds of coaches in fitness and nutrition, and really working with the best of the best. And COVID hit, and I decided to launch my own company, and I started an online fitness community, which I'm so grateful we've been able to focus on health and wellness together. And it's just been really a feel-good journey to be on. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's been 5, almost 6 years into being a full-time coach and helping people live a healthy lifestyle, but also connecting with new faces, maybe people that didn't really follow my entertainment career, and then helping them get in the best shape of their life. But also a lot of people that have really grateful have followed me from my fan base that knew me in entertainment to now what I'm doing as an online health and wellness coach. So it's been actually one of the most rewarding it's one of the most rewarding chapters of my life, and I love it. It's been deeply gratifying for me to help other people get in incredible shape, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, which is also something we focus on a lot in High Level. And yeah, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it right there.
That's the outline. But you mentioned being a father, so I wanted to ask you, when you did become a father, how did it change your perception of everything? Because you were in the middle of basically taking off in this music career and the television shows and things like that. But did your perspective change when you became a dad?
Totally. It changes you as a person. It gives you like a different purpose in your life that's really hard to put into words until you actually experience it. And, you know, it was a really dramatic time, which is great for reality TV, because we had, you know, TV cameras and TV crews living in our house. And then we also showed my son's birth on MTV. And at that time, he was the first child ever born on MTV. I mean, they were in the delivery room. So it was like, recently my son asked, he's like, let's watch the show. And it's been years since I watched it, because it's also such a time capsule for me. And I've grown so much since then that I got to say, it's kind of weird to watch, because you're watching this younger, well-produced version of yourself and your life at that time. And it's a total time capsule. But it's cool to have, because it's, again, a snapshot of what's going on in my life then. But it was challenging, because I was launching a solo album on top of becoming a father. And there were a lot of obstacles and challenges to that. But to answer your question, it gave me a different purpose and a different drive in my life that I'm really grateful for. And my son is amazing. He's very talented as well. He actually had a role in American Horror Story when he was younger, a few years back, with Lady Gaga, American Horror Story Hotel. And he did like a 6-episode arc. And it's, you know, all those same things that my own parents were worried about, I started thinking about too, in terms of the path of having like a child star, and like how much do you pursue this at 10 or 11 years old? Because again, I think we weren't talking about it as much as we are now. It's like the mental health and emotional health ramifications of having the pressure of being famous that young. You know, it's really hard on people's psyche. And in a lot of ways, you don't have a normal childhood. And so I was really happy when he finished that project. He wanted to focus on school, which I was really happy about, actually. So it was an incredible experience for me. And, you know, I have one son, and I never say never, but I don't know, maybe I won't have any more kids, but I'm super grateful that I do, because it did absolutely changed every fiber of my being. It changes you on a fundamental level as a human being.
And then speaking of the reality TV, the way that reality TV has changed since then, would you go back and do a show like that now, or would you be a little more hesitant or a little more demanding of having some control of it? Because it's gotten crazy. I mean, they literally create drama where there is no drama, where before it's kind of like they let the dramas play out.
Yes. Yes, you nailed it. It's like knowing what that is like, I am hesitant to do it. And I've been offered a lot of them. You know, I hope I'm not saying anything I shouldn't. I was recently offered there was a concept that they put together for a reality TV show where former teen idols that are single live in a hotel together and they date like The Bachelor. So it's like Bachelor meets former teen idols that are out there in the dating world, and they live in a hotel together. And I was like, I passed on it because I know what kind of pressure that is. And I'm not a producer on that show. So to answer your question,
Yeah.
if I did do a reality show about my life, I feel like I would need to be a producer on it, because you give up so much control, and then they do turn you into a character, which they take these snippets, and a lot of it's not the full story, and they want to tell their story. And so we saw that happen on Making the Band a lot, obviously, as well.
Sure. And then you know, your son obviously is going into it already, so he's had his roles. But if he was going to do a reality, would you try to dissuade him from it?
I might, I might, because I saw they're doing a sounds like Making the Band. It's called Building the Band, I think is the working title. Yeah, it's the same thing, and they're going to do it on Netflix. And they were looking for young singers and young performers to go through basically the Making the Band process. It's just called Building the Band. I do think it's fun to watch, but my advice to him would be very careful about projects that you decide to do in entertainment, especially reality TV, especially.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword there, because you want the exposure, but you don't want that much exposed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, exactly. So when it comes to reality, I like the competition stuff. So when The Masked Singer came along and they offered me that, I was like, I'm in, because it's much more talent-based. You get to show off your talent as a singer, and it's not so much about like the drama of your personal life.
Yeah, exactly. And then going back to fitness for a minute, I did want to ask you, when people come to you to coach, is there something that every human being basically has in common when it comes to their fitness and health journeys? Are there some things that we all kind of have? Because mostly we are similar and not that much.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people also ask, like, men and women, should it be approached differently? And there's some nuance to that conversation, but in general, it comes down to movement. I like that word better than exercise, because it sounds more fun, and it doesn't have to be in a gym. It could be dancing in your living room. But I think movement, and understanding how movement helps you stay youthful, helps you stay young. Moving your body. I think we're starting to understand more, obviously, a sedentary lifestyle where you're sitting all of the time. I think they say if you're getting less than 4,700 steps per day, and we know this because we talk about it a lot in high level, we track our steps and we shoot for 10,000 steps a day. If you get 4,700 or lower, that's the threshold for being at much greater risk of anxiety, stress, and even depression. So just simply walking is actually a huge, I think, underrated and underappreciated form of moving your body, just getting out for a walk. And then the other category would be nutrition. And we live in a world where commercial food products are being marketed to you as healthy, and that's the last thing that they are. They're not healthy. They're damaging your hormones, your endocrine. All of these things disrupt a lot of our natural processes, because it's so ultra processed with chemicals and with artificial colors and sweeteners and things. So the two categories that are so important to focus on are movement and nutrition. And I would actually start with nutrition first. I think nutrition is actually the first category to start with.
Yeah, I think that's like easing people into it too, because it's not as shocking to say, well, we're going to change how you eat a little bit here, a little bit there, and then we're going to have you move a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And our metabolism does change. So in the age category we're in, and we have people in their 20s and 30s and 40s and even 50s and 60s that are in High Level Performance Academy. But a lot of people come to join the program and they say, you know, I just don't feel the same way I did, and I've got all this extra body fat, and it really comes down to nutrition and movement, and it's actually even less about your metabolism and less about your age. It's about a healthy lifestyle. And so I'm really passionate about making these habits not just a 90-day fitness challenge, which is where we start, but actually the goal is to create habits and rituals that you're going to keep up with for the rest of your life. You can see those artists out there like Cher. We talk about how amazing Cher is at her age, right? Like someone that's dedicated to fitness and nutrition. I saw Mick Jagger recently with the Rolling Stones, and at 81 years old, he's bouncing around the stage, and he's talked a lot about his fitness routines at this point. So I have a saying that genetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. So we can even outwork genetics to a certain degree when you're living a healthy lifestyle. All comes down to lifestyle and living a health and wellness driven lifestyle.
Yeah, and then the thing about I notice about you is that it's a lot of mental health too in there because you check in with people to see how they're doing, and it's not always about the physical journey. It's sometimes it's like how you doing, like what's going on today, because it is connected. When you're not feeling good about yourself, you're not gonna treat yourself the same way, and so you may fall off because for me, I learned that actually was that when I was picking up weight, it was because I wasn't happy with something else. It had nothing to do with food or not exercising necessarily. It was a mental state that I was in, and I was kind of using it as an excuse.
I'm so glad you brought that up because you see progress pictures of people that have lost weight, the physical changes, but a picture doesn't capture all the mental changes that occur when, you know, your food affects your mood.
Mhm.
It absolutely is a mental health connection here. We know that now. And it's also backed by science and understanding that moving your body changes the way you feel. It's equally about how you feel. And sometimes the win of the week is honestly, it's a mental win and it's emotional health just as much as it's physical health. You're right. Like when you start to feel better, you create more confidence. You put yourself out there to the world in a different way. You feel better about overcoming obstacles and challenges outside of fitness. And that's why I do believe like a healthy movement routine. It could also include strength training. It doesn't just make your body strong, it makes you mentally strong, mentally resilient. And then you are able to now overcome obstacles and challenges in life in a much more empowered way because your mood is, you're feeling uplifted. You're feeling like you're waking up with energy. You're feeling like you can tackle obstacles and challenges. You deepen the relationship with yourself through health and well-being. So actually, we talk about this a lot. We're doing this for us. It's nice when we get compliments from friends or family like,
Yeah.
wow, how did you lose 20, 30 pounds? Or you're looking younger than ever. That's great to get that feedback. But this is actually about the relationship with yourself and having integrity with how you treat yourself. It's really an important part of the conversation.
And then, did you start the coaching before you started the supplements? Was that how it
I
came from there?
actually started the supplements when I was on Broadway in
Okay.
Wicked. We
Uh-huh.
we launched the supplement line. And that's something I've been so keyed into supplements since I was really young. There are supplements that will work, and there are also those that are just total snake oil. They're overly hyped. And so cutting through the confusion on that is really important. I recently partnered with a world-renowned heart doctor. He's a cardiologist because we want to keep differentiating what we're doing in the supplement world. And we've now relaunched High Level as High Level Science medical grade supplements. And so having a doctor on board has been a real game changer because, I mean, he's not just a doctor, he's also a scientist. And we're talking about someone that's at the highest levels of medicine, helping people understand, hey, here's the handful of supplements you can be taking that will drastically change how you feel, how you look, and how you perform overall. And so I love supplements. I always have. I'm the guy that's been taking supplements since I was really young. So it was a natural fit for me to go into health and wellness supplements.
Because if you're not taking the right supplements, you could actually just be wasting money. Because if it doesn't absorb or it's not doing anything for you, then you're just taking something as a placebo almost.
It's exactly right. And there are a lot of them that people don't realize you can take, yes, for physical health, but there's also so many benefits to your skin, to your hair, to your nails, to that youthful glow. We always talk about in High Level, like we're on the glow up.
Yeah.
And we're finding people not to grow older with, but to stay young with, and to even grow young with. And so I just think it's a really important thing that a lot of people are confused on. Like, that's one of the biggest questions I get are like, man, I'm seeing these commercials all the time. Like, what actually works and what doesn't is a huge part of this conversation.
Definitely. And I also think that for years we took like vitamin D and things like that, but we didn't know how we were taking it. If we were just taking D by itself, it wasn't absorbing. So then we weren't, kind of like throwing money away. And it's not a cheap thing. So if you can actually spend more money on quality supplements, and then because they're effective, you don't have to buy as many.
That's exactly it. Because some people have 20 different supplements in their pantry, and half of them maybe don't even work. And like you said, with vitamin D3, if you don't take it with vitamin K2, it doesn't absorb. And so you'll see a lot of companies now, including our high level science line, we have vitamin D3 plus vitamin K2. So it actually absorbs. The absorption conversation, the bioavailability of what you're taking, it's a deep conversation, but we only back the supplements that are really proven to work with real clinical human trials that they've done that are backed by science and medicine. And it's only a handful of them, actually. So you don't need to be taking 20 different things a day.
Yeah, like the one that I'm taking of yours is the fish oil, and it has a few
Yes.
different things in it. So it's like a one-stop shop. But if you add up the separate, like if you buy fish oil separate and then it's a CoQ10 that's in it too, if you add all that up, you're talking about a lot of money that you'd be spending on all the different ones.
That's right. I actually have it right on my desk. I keep it
That's the
here.
one.
I'm in the high level office right now. Yeah, heart, body, and mind, and it's crafted by a cardiologist. It's omega 3 plus CoQ10 plus vitamin E, which is actually one of the most powerful antioxidants you can take. And not a lot of people remember vitamin E. You've heard of it, but all these three ingredients work to help the bioavailability, to help make sure you get these nutrients. I actually was really surprised because I had a physical recently. And by the way, for people listening, go get a physical.
Yes.
Get some blood work done, and you can find where those nutrient deficiencies might be. But long story short, my family doctor said I had really high blood pressure, really high cholesterol, and that was surprising because I eat really healthy
Yeah,
and I
and you
work
work
out
out.
constantly, and I have been for years. And so I was like, they're saying I'm going to have to go on statins for the rest of my life, which was a part of the process of me even meeting Dr. Reisig. And then he gave me these three things to start taking, and I feel better already. And it's just, again, he calls it medicine 2.0, which is let's do all the things to stay off the operating table. This is really focused on heart disease and combating cardiovascular disease. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the world. It's surprising. Someone dies every 37 seconds from heart disease. And so I think we're talking a lot more about heart health because of COVID and the effects on the heart. There's also, of course, that conversation includes vaccines and all these different things that we're talking about a lot right now. So I do believe in natural methods. And so far, I've been able to avoid the statins. But even if you're on statins, it strips your body of CoQ10. So even if you're on statins, it's really important to be taking omega 3, quality omega 3 fish oil. We get ours from wild caught Chilean juvenile marine life before it's had any time to absorb any environmental toxins. It's super pure and clean. And then the CoQ10 is revitalizing your cells within the mitochondria, which people hear a lot about. That's just the health of your cells. And so it's just, again, you can create health from within through nutrition. You got to definitely be eating a healthy diet. But even if you ate the healthiest, which is what I was doing, you might still find you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Again, there are things that we can be taking, natural supplements. This is a pharmaceutical grade supplement. So it's over the counter. You don't need a prescription for it, but I'm glad you're taking it, and take it consistently. With natural supplements, you got to be taking them every day.
And where can people get them if they want to try them for themselves?
LiveHighLevel.com is actually the best place to get it because we're offering a 15% off right now as we launched it. So we are on TikTok Shop. We're also on Amazon, and soon we're going to be everywhere, including retail locations as well. But right now, the best spot to get it price-wise is livehighlevel.com.
We got to get that out of the way.
Little plug.
You got to do it. You just got to do it.
You got to.
So back to Broadway for a minute. I know we're jumping around, but there's so many things to talk about that. When you were on Broadway, was it at the moment that you were there, did it actually hit you that this was bigger than anything like it's Broadway. Was that something you were conscious of while you were doing it?
Yes, and it was very nerve-wracking because I actually, when I watched Wicked, the first time I saw it was not on the tour, but was in the Gershwin Theater in New York on Broadway.
Oh my God.
And the level of performance is so crisp and really pretty perfect. There's a certain level of expectation that when you go see a Broadway show, it's just the talent level is insane. And so I felt a lot of pressure, but I've always been someone that leans into getting uncomfortable and leaning into being uncomfortable. So, but it was definitely that realization of like, oh my God, I'm going to be up there playing this role, and the expectations are so high. Coming into it with a fitness background definitely helped because I was in my late 30s when I played Fiyero, and it's a lot of choreography and it's a lot of vocals, and you need the strength and you need to be up. You need to have stamina to do 8 shows a week. So I was like equally excited and equally terrified, to be honest with you.
Was it at the time where people still took Broadway seriously? Because now I notice when I go, people are in like ripped jeans and t-shirts, and I'm just like, what the? It used to be a thing, and now it's not really. Now it's like going to a movie or something. But it used to be a night out, and people expected a lot, and they looked the part when the people attending looked the part too. Now I don't think it's
yes. It's like when I would meet people at the stage door, I'd say it's like 80-20. 80% of the people are like, it's a night out. You've got a nice jacket on, and people are dressing up like you said. That's how it used to be across the board.
I think it flipped.
It flipped in a lot of ways. It used to be that way, like in the 70s and 80s, when people took a commercial air.
Yeah.
Like they took commercial flights somewhere, they dressed up for it. And now you see people on flights in the fuzzy slippers and pajamas in the airport. So I think the bar has maybe dropped a little bit in all categories, but most of the people I met were very excited to be out at a Broadway show like that. And with Wicked, you get such an international audience. It's like, so many people from different parts of the world that may not even speak English. So, but it was an incredible experience. All in all, I did 2 years as Fiyero and had a lot of things go wrong on stage. And most of the time, the audience doesn't know, because as a performer, you're so good at overcoming when another actor forgets his lines or if the orchestra doesn't play. I shared a story on Frosted Tips, Lance Bass's podcast, about my biggest moment of overcoming an obstacle was when the orchestra, the keyboard lost power, and they weren't able to play the opening to Dancing Through Life. And I had to do the whole song a cappella with choreography, and the entire chorus behind me were all dancing and singing to no music at all. So it was the most bizarre Dancing Through Life I ever did, because there was no music at all. It kicked in right at the last note. But yeah, you have to be on your feet when you're on Broadway, because you never know what's going to happen, and it's live. So there's a certain adrenaline to that.
But going back to what you said about making the mistakes and the audience not even noticing, that actually is more common than anything. Is the person on the stage beats themselves up so much after a performance, and then they come off and nobody cares. Everybody's so happy that they just were entertained by you, and they're not worried about that because they don't even notice it. It's not even a big deal.
That's the surprising thing, because I would ask people, and a few times I had friends or family in the audience, and I would say, "Did you notice that this didn't happen the way?" And they were like, "No, we didn't even catch it." So, but that's what I love about the thrill of live performing. It is a completely different rush. You're getting a standing ovation every night, but you're done at 11 o'clock at night. Your adrenaline's so high, you can't fall asleep until 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's an interesting schedule to be on.
And then we could bring that actually back to nutrition and health, because people, when they're dieting and exercising, it's the same thing. If I today decided to cheat, or I fell off the wagon and I had a weak moment and I ate a cupcake, I can beat myself up over it and say, well, now I'm just going to forget it. I'll have to start on Monday, and I can eat bad from now until Monday. Or I could just say, we don't notice that. We're just going to go the same for dinner. I'll go back to my healthy thing and not miss the beat. So I think we beat ourselves up so much that we get in our head and then we screw up.
It's so true. And I trust me, I get it, because I've fallen into that trap too. Blaming and shaming yourself never helps. I don't know why we do it as human beings, but I have a saying: no blame, no shame. Let's make it a fun game. Understanding that those moments are going to happen, and it just means you're a human being. And when you shame yourself, you get in what's called the shame spiral, where you then just start spiraling out and you're like, oh, well, I've been so off of it. And then you just keep eating that way. And then some people spiral out of their routines for weeks, months, and sometimes even years at a time. The real game you're playing on a fitness journey is how quickly can I hit the reset button? It's not a game of perfection. And when you also understand how to control your macros and your calories, you can fit in a cupcake. You can fit in some pizza and ice cream. And actually, we stopped calling it cheat meals. We started calling it earned meals, because even the word cheat sort of can have a little bit of like a negative association to that word. Earned feels better, right? And an earned meal is a super important part. I don't believe in completely giving up cupcakes or treats or those things, but we just want to apply strategy.
Right. Because that is the thing that makes you go back to the cupcake, because you're denying yourself of it, and then you're gonna, at some point you're gonna want it again, and at some point you're gonna go for it. You can have that week. Yeah. So
when you beat yourself up over it, you don't feel good, and you never perform well when you don't feel good.
Right.
If you don't feel good about yourself, it's so much easier to keep slipping in that direction. So again, it's just embracing that this is the process. We talk a lot about like, divorcing yourself from the results and getting married to the process. Eyes on the prize, but actually eyes on the path, because the path is actually so much more important. It's the difference between having a goal or having a system. Having a system helps you consistently get towards the goal. If you're only ever focused on every day stepping on the scale, did I lose some weight? Every day looking in the mirror, did that workout I do change me? You get too hyper-focused on, quote, results, instead of being married to the process and understanding, embracing that being a human being means that we're going to have moments like that, right?
And then where can people find you online if they want to know more, maybe sign up for coaching or just follow your journey? Because you give tips online all the time that are anything but free. So if people want to follow you.
Follow me on Ashley Parker Angel. If you type that in on Instagram and or Facebook, I'll pop right up. I'm also on TikTok under the same name. If you just type in my name, you'll see me. And I'm going to be the official account. So you'll see that verified check and follow that one. And I try my best to also weave in a lot of advice and living a healthy lifestyle, motivational content, all that good stuff. And we've been doing it now for 5 coming up on 6 years. And I'm really grateful I've been able to connect with like currently people in the group, but also so many people have come through High Level Performance Academy already. And we've had such great experiences. We also started doing in-person live health and wellness retreats too. So we got a chance to do that in Vegas. I'm rocking the High Level Las Vegas retreat number 2. And it's been just super fun. It's been an amazing way to stay connected to people that, again, maybe have followed me my whole career, but also meeting a lot of people that are just discovering me now through fitness and health and wellness.
With all the things that you post, the inspiration and the motivation and all that, what or who inspires you the most?
Oh, that's a good question. I have a habit that I try to embody, which is, and I give this advice to everybody in the group too, or even anyone listening, is that like you talked about the mental component of this mental game. People think about training their body, but not training their mind. And so like I absorb 20 to 30 minutes a day, either through reading or an audiobook. A little habit stack pro tip. If you're exercising already, throw on some motivational, inspirational material. So it's hard for me to pick just one person in that world. I did have a chance when I was even in O-Town, I got to work one-on-one with Tony Robbins. Nice. And so as motivational coaches go, that would be top of the list for me. He's worked with a lot of people he's worked with presidents and royalty. And so to get a chance he was amazing. And so all of his books are incredible. But top of my list for, if you're looking for an audiobook or a book to get inspired by, would be The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal. Top of my list for exercise. And again, you could just be going to YouTube and typing in motivational content. I do that all the time. And I just try to constantly be chipping away at my mental game, because you do realize at a certain point, success in any category of life becomes 90% plus a mental game. And every peak performer, whether it's business, acting, singing, it doesn't matter what category you're talking about. This is a mental game that we're playing. And so I do think it's really important to be feeding your mind with motivational, inspirational content. It could even be when you're doing chores, laundry, dishes. Throw something on, level up in your mindset as much as standing in line at the grocery store. A big one is also commuting. If you're on the train or if you're driving somewhere, throw it on, throw an audiobook on. So I have an Audible account and I have tons of resources I'm constantly plugging into. And there's some amazing people out there. I also love Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins is an amazing, she's fantastic. I love her as well. If you're not following her on social media, people definitely should follow Mel Robbins. And it's just been, it's been an amazing process. And it also is exciting in terms of living this lifestyle. Look, I'm 43 years old. And I think in this age range we're at now, we can really start to see how lifestyle is impacting you and how you're aging. Or are you anti-aging? Are you staying youthful and young? So it's like, it's all about lifestyle again. And that lifestyle includes feeding your mind, not just training your body, but training your mindset.
And so far, because you're only 43, so it's not like you're that, but so far at this point, what are you most proud of?
Ah, man, that is an incredible question. As much as I love all my career accomplishments, it's definitely fatherhood. Definitely being a father for me. It's my greatest achievement, and it's my most prized possession in the world is my son. And so again, it's been a real driver for me. Also, I have to say it was a big part of me wanting to launch my own company, because after 20 years of being in entertainment and having to travel all the time for work, it was a big part of me wanting to sort of gear shift and not have to travel across the world, which I'm so glad that I was able to do. But it was a big part of my decision behind even starting this business too, was doing something where I could be home a lot more. So.
And what do you think people most misunderstand about you?
I think people misunderstand the thirst traps. Okay. And I think people misunderstand the intention behind them, because I'm really body positive.
Right.
I'm very sex positive, and I'm someone that wants to celebrate the human body. And when I started doing thirst traps, I got inspired by the ESPN comes out with an issue every year where they do like really incredible thirst trap style photos of athletes.
Yes.
And some of them are completely nude, by the way. I mean, my stuff lives more in the world of like underwear model, right. But these people are actually completely nude. Yeah, it's definitely, it's Instagram safe, but it's also, I think, a desire to hook people into the conversation where then we can talk about how it's not just about your physical body. This is about how you feel about yourself. This is equally, if not more, about your mental and emotional health. And so it's really hard to talk about in a picture. But if you read the captions, that's usually where I will talk about that a lot more. But I'm definitely trying to use those thirst traps as a way to hook people into that conversation.
I agree. I think that is the most misunderstood thing about you as well. And I never misunderstood that. That's the thing. Like when other people misunderstand, I'm like, how do you not read the caption? It's a long caption, but read it. That's why it's long. It's long for a reason. What's something that you absolutely cannot live without?
That's a great question too. Something I can't live without. I would say something I can't live without at this stage of my life in particular too is my routines. Okay. My routine is so important to me that the minute I feel off my routines, I just don't feel the same. So if I'm traveling for a week and, for example, I have to skip my workouts, it's not about my physical body at that point. It's really about my stress levels, my anxiety. I have general anxiety, and I've never been diagnosed with like ADHD. I probably am, to be honest with you, but I've had so much general anxiety through the years. And even as a young performer in my 20s, I was in a dark place at a certain point where I was not living a healthy lifestyle. And when I started living health and wellness again, because I had done it so much in my teen years, I realized that I was coping with fame and the pressure of continuing my success in entertainment. I was coping in a lot of negative ways, in all the ways you can think of, right? So I just don't feel the same if I'm not practicing my routines, which are how I'm sleeping, how I'm eating, how I'm moving my body, and how I'm breathing. So I've gotten really deeper into practicing proper breathing technique. If you don't like the word meditation, we could just say proper breathing. But harnessing those four categories, the core four is what we call them in the group. You practice a little bit of those key categories and you're going to level up in literally every area of your life. But I just don't feel good when I'm not practicing my routines. And I call it blisscipline. where your discipline becomes your discipline. The goal is to actually enjoy doing these things, where you realize you associate so much joy and pleasure to your mood and how you feel each day, your energy levels, actually waking up in the morning excited for the day rather than dragging yourself out of bed. I just don't feel the same if I'm not practicing my routine. So for me right now, these are rituals. They've become part of my identity. And as soon as I can't practice them, I start to notice my anxiety starts to rise. I start getting frustrated more. You get a 12-hour mood boost after each exercise session. We talk about this a lot. So I try to get my exercise in the morning to get that 12-hour mood boost throughout the day. But just super important for me right now where I'm at in my life is to stay consistent with my routines. I sort of feel like I can't live without them.
Yeah, yeah. And how about, is there something that you wish we could all live without?
I wish we could all live without mainstream news. I think maybe
That's a good one.
yeah.
Shut it off. Just shut it off.
Yeah, and it's designed to put you in panic mode. You know what I mean? So it highlights negativity is what it is. And so like I've stopped watching mainstream news. I still stay up to date, but I follow people that I know are giving unbiased news. And so much of the world we live in now is so biased on both sides. And it's owned by corporations and they maximize profits. And so they lead with fear and panic and things that are going to make you angry. And so I think unplugging from all of that is super important for our mental health.
Definitely, definitely. What are you working on right now besides the supplements? Anything coming up down the pike there for you other than the supplements and the coaching?
I have an entertainment project that I'm in the talks to be a part of, but I can't say it yet because of the rules around what that looks like. But I will say, going back to even The Masked Singer, if I'm going to do something entertainment, it's going to be competition based. And so there's a lot of great shows out there. The Amazing Race is something I've always wanted to do. I would totally do Naked and Afraid. There's also that show Special Forces, The World's Toughest.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so the cool thing is my agent understands that I want to do things based in either physical challenge or talent based. And so that's where I've been leaning. And I can't say anything more about the specific project that I'm in talks to be on, but I'm getting incredible opportunities because everything's coming for full circle back to the 90s and early 2000s again.
That's right. Everything is coming back. Speaking of The Masked Singer, what made you pick a s'more? Did they pick that for you, or did you just you said I want to be a s'more?
You get to have deep conversations with the whole production team about your character, and they pitched me several ideas. And the s'more spoke to me because I grew up camping a lot, and who doesn't love a s'more? I've never met someone that doesn't like a s'more. The costume that they put together was also like mind blowing. So they showed me some concept art for what the s'more looked like, and I just thought it was one of the coolest costumes. I became the s'more. It spoke to me, and that was actually a totally different experience because no one knew who I was, and in a way, it frees you up to perform because you're not being judged as Ashley. You're being judged as this character s'more, and so it was a really bizarre experience because I could barely see out of the mask, but. The s'more is just something that we grew up making s'mores every single time we would camp. We'd also camp out in the backyard of my family's home up in Northern California, and we'd make s'mores in the backyard. So I just love a good s'more, and it just spoke to me.
Wow. I do have two questions from fans, if you don't mind answering.
Yes, please.
The first one is from a friend of mine, Michelle Gerson, who wants to say hello to you first, and then also
hello.
She wants to know what you're working on currently and if you're considering going back to Broadway at all.
I love that question. And I know Broadway's going to be in my future at some point. I was actually up for the role of Shakespeare in Anne Juliet. And everything that was going on with my health and wellness company, though, it's so important for me to continue building what I've been building. So I did pass on it, but I do get, offers quite a bit. And there was also a conversation about replacing Joey McIntyre in the musical he's doing. It's actually a drag musical, and it's been very popular. What's the name of that again?
I forget the one he's doing, but it would be a good role for you though, because you fit right in with his.
Yeah, exactly. And so I because I've been in that world, I do get offers a lot to simplify my answer, I'm just so excited to keep building my health and wellness company, not just coaching people, but also launching these supplements. It takes a lot of work, and it's really hard to be split between doing a 6 month or 9 month or even year-long contract, because most Broadway shows, by the way, require a year. They want you for a year of your life, and you really, to be great at it, you really have to just be focused on that. So I'm just right now, I think I'm in a place right now where I'm just exploring a different part of my life, and it's been very fulfilling, like I said, but I know it's in my future. I know I'm definitely going to be doing something in entertainment moving forward. I'm attached to a project right now I can't talk about, but definitely I'm excited to keep exploring that as well. This is the thing, life is long.
Yeah.
Life is about making experiments. And I don't think people experiment enough with what they're capable of doing. And I think a lot of people sometimes get stuck in one lane, doing one thing, where most of us, if we're being honest, we're probably, we have multi-talented skills that we could develop. And most people have several talents they could develop. So I'm just in a place where I'm just really focused on health and wellness right now. Plus, it's also such a feel-good path to be on that it's like, I've never felt better about where I'm at in my life. And also, again, working with amazing people like you, it's actually been more rewarding than being a performer. Not that I don't love being a performer, but actually helping people change their lives for the better. I feel like it was a calling for me.
Yeah.
And I paid
It's more
attention to it.
one-on-one.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's not one-on-one, it's more one-on-one.
It is. You get a deeper relationship with people. And so I've loved it.
And then Laura Scharf wants to know if you can tell us something, a fun fact about you. And she said it doesn't have to be something embarrassing, just a fun fact that most people might not know.
I love Laura. Laura's also in our High Level Performance Academy group. Fantastic question. Something people don't know about me. That's hard to come up with because my life has been so public. I think actually, and I talked a little bit about this, which more and more public figures that you might not know of have talked about this. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and so that is an interesting part of my background. For years, there was so much drama in my own family about it that I didn't talk about it because I was actually excommunicated from the church. It's something a lot of other public figures have started to talk about. So I was excommunicated and really blackballed by a lot of people from my own family, and I didn't have a relationship with a lot of people in my family, very sadly, because of it. And even to this day, I've lost a lot of family that's still in the church. And so not a lot of people know that about me, though. Maybe a few people do, but it's something I want to talk about all the things in my life, the obstacles and challenges as well. And so another reason why I had to move out of my parents' house when I decided I wanted to pursue entertainment is because the church did not support what I was doing. And so finding myself as a young adult without having support from my family was also a huge obstacle and challenge to overcome. And thankfully, a lot of those relationships, especially with my dad, have been repaired now. But just something that I think is unique to me, and for those that might know about that religion, it's a fascinating conversation. But quite a few people have been disfellowshipped from the church and are starting to talk more about it publicly. I think Leah Remini's done a really good job talking about coming from being a Scientologist and all the things that were going on in the world of organized religion there. So I do really come from a background where I was like steeped heavily in that. And it was a big hurdle to overcome, even wanting to pursue entertainment because of that.
The Jacksons were also Jehovah's Witnesses, right? But they were okay to be in entertainment because I guess.
Yep. The Jacksons, Serena and Venus Williams, Childish Gambino, a lot of people that are now in entertainment that have started talking a little bit more about that. But it's something I just didn't really want to get into when I was younger. And so a lot of people didn't understand why I didn't have support from my family. A lot of people didn't understand because on making the band, my dad was like, we don't support what you're doing. We don't support any of that. And a lot of people didn't understand a lot of that's based in the religion.
So if we're going to leave people with something, what would you leave people with as far as mental health goes? A few tips that they could practice daily that will help their mental health. Start walking and track your steps. Even if you don't have like a fitness tracker, like a watch or a Fitbit, you could track it on your phone.
And setting the goal of 10,000 steps a day equals about 30 minutes of walking. But just that alone can change your mood. Not about weight loss. It's also, you will also help encourage weight loss. But I think it's the number one thing that most people don't understand is just getting outdoors and going for a walk. You clear your mind. If you can get out in nature, I think we need to get back to Mother Nature, fresh air, fresh sunlight. I get some of my best ideas when I'm walking, and it's the easiest thing to start doing, especially for people that may not be familiar with doing an exercise routine. Just get out for a walk.
And then remind everybody where they can find the supplements if they want to buy them.
Yeah.
High Level Science.
You can find High Level Science at livehighlevel.com. That's the best place to check those out. We're also on Amazon.com. If you just Amazon.com/high level will take you to the Amazon store. We're also on TikTok Shop. So really excited because we have a whole new line coming out, and they're all medical grade, top of the line in terms of what you can be doing for your health and well-being.
Very cool. And I want to thank you for taking time because I know you're really busy. So sharing your time and talent with me, I thank you.
Thank you. And I know we're going to get to see each other in LA in a couple of days.
A couple of days.
So we'll take some pictures and videos to we'll get a chance to promote the conversation we had here. And I just want to thank you again. You're honestly one of the kindest, most genuine, thoughtful people I know. You have such a big heart, and you are loved and appreciated by so many, including me. Obviously, I'm your number one fan. So we talked a lot about making this podcast happen. I'm so glad we got a chance to do it.
I'm glad too. Is anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
No, I thought this was a great conversation. I love long form conversations because we can get deeper on all these things that we talked about, Yeah.
Without being too personal and too nosy, because we don't do that.
You're the best at that. That is much appreciated.
We don't do gossip.
Yeah, because I was saying, as you said, when in the top of the conversation before we went live, you were like, we were talking about those comments that I get on those thirst traps, and you had mentioned that you got some questions from people that wanted to know some things, and I was like, I hope it's not from the comment section of my Instagram.
Never.
Because honestly, that might be the most entertaining part of posting thirst traps are the comments that you get, and sometimes my mind is blown for what people will say on the internet.
Oh my God, me too. I read the thirst trap comments sometimes just to entertain myself. I'll read yours. I'm like, let me see what they're saying underneath this photo.
I'm gonna try to keep it up because BuzzFeed did somewhat recently crown me the king of thirst traps, and I'm happy with that title. I'm gonna keep it going because I think again, being a walking billboard for what living a health and well-being lifestyle can achieve, especially as we are all, I don't call it aging, I call it leveling up because it sounds so much cooler.
Yeah.
But I was nervous about the questions that you might ask, and
No,
I appreciate you keeping it so quality. I love it. Thank you,
classy.
Yeah, keeping it classy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Much love. Thank you.
You too.